pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a roll call of members.
Member Smith,
Here.
Member Smonik,
Here.
Member Gillespie,
Here.
Member Gibbon,
Here.
Member Hammer is here, and Member Paulson is absent.
Okay, thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the agenda? If so, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, has everybody had a moment here to look at the minutes from the previous meeting? It's on the back of the agenda. After reviewing the minutes, do we have a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we have the budget report? Terry?
All right, y'all have the budget statement in front of you. This is as of the end of November. Lining up pretty good right now. We still have 32,000 of unspent money, but there'll be one more invoice that's gonna be coming out. I think it's getting paid on, maybe it got paid on Tuesday. We have about $6,500 that's coming out for, it's a Kubota system setup to mount on that truck that we're gonna use for the new tank that we bought. I don't know if we bought that tank. We bought what is that? 2,600 gallon tank here. It's an actual spray tank that we're gonna take in. We took a box off of one of the old dump trucks, one of the old county trucks, and we're gonna mount this thing up. We're gonna put the Kubota system on, so it's a more stable system rather than just mounting that tank right to the frame. So there'll be another additional 6,500 coming off of that. And I know Russ is working and getting that thing mounted up here, so. But otherwise, a little bit of money left over in there. It's a good thing, so. Any questions on this year's budget?
Do you carry that money over till the next year, or does that go back into the general?
No, this year, the weed budget, it comes out of 101, which is general fund. So whatever is unspent of that goes away. So. Any questions on that?
I don't have a question. Do we have a motion to accept this budget as presented?
So I do have one more item maybe before. So I was going to present you with 23's budget. So this year's budget, I think we're sitting at it was $152,939 is what 22's full budget was. In 23, we're going to be looking at 181,201. So a slight increase. The biggest thing that we're looking for next year is I have in the budget for a Ranger. We're gonna get another one because that other one we have is getting pretty old, so getting worn out. So otherwise everything across the board on there is pretty much the same. I think I dropped the spray down a little bit. We were at 52,000 for this year's spray, and right now we were at 13,000 left over, so I dropped that down to $49,000 for spray next year. So, but so that's where we'll be sitting on next year's budget. Like I said, I think the big thing next year is going to be the purchase of a Ranger. So,
Will you keep the old one then, or?
No, we'll
Or
probably end
double
up, well, either one, we'll probably get rid of one of them, because a couple of years ago, we purchased a Ranger. I think it was 2 years ago we had one. And that one, I think we just shifted over to the highway department. They use it for running around the yard. I don't know which is gonna be better out of the two of those. We may end up just taking the old one, and sending it down to the highway department again, and then we'll get rid of the worst one out of them, probably have it up for auction, I suppose, so.
How old is that one?
I don't know, wait,
02 or an 05.
Oh, you've had it quite a while.
Well, the other one was an 87. They got their use.
Those are three-seaters, right? Just three-seat, yep.
The two older ones are 6-wheel. The new
Yeah.
one is 4-wheel. The other one, they're the 6-wheel Rangers, the originals, what they were, but.
Yeah.
And it's time to move them on for what I do.
Yeah.
Good enough to run around the yard, but the oldest one, that was an exercise Ranger because they left me walking about 3 times.
Okay. Are there any other questions with this budget? If there isn't, do we have a motion to accept it as presented?
I'll make that a motion.
Do we have a second?
So move.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, Russ, you have the spray report?
Not much new on spray report, finished up the year. Pretty much got through everything, got through all the townships that had called me. Had pretty good year end with some milestone on Canadians with things being dry. I got to a lot of spots I couldn't get to. But got pretty much everything covered I wanted to get covered. Dry made it difficult, but a lot of weeds didn't want to die off when you get spray on them because they needed moisture, but
Yeah.
I'd say I had about 70% kill compared to other years because of dry, but other than that, did good.
I think you had the same problems last year.
Yeah, dried up.
Yeah.
Great to get to wet spots, but the weeds don't die, so how much chemical do you put on it, and I had a couple of roads that got dirty on me and yeah, I was out 3 times on one and it's a point you gotta, quit dumping spray on it. We'll go get it in the spring and try and hit it early.
Equipment report?
Like Terry said, I'm working on putting that other truck together, getting it wired up, all the stuff put on it the way I want it and all that. The other equipment, good shape with the pickup and the other Ranger. I got a couple of leaks. Of course, every year I pretty much take all the fittings apart and put them back together so I don't have leaks. I'd rather not have that when they're full of spray, so in the winter I go through all my fittings and that. But new truck, that's slowly coming together, taking my time putting it together the way I want it. With 2,600 gallons, I should be able to spray close to 33 to 35 miles in a single load versus a pickup is 6 miles. So when you're out in the morning and the wind's right, I can spray instead of running back and forth to the shop. So yeah, the equipment's in good shape. We're doing good on that.
So you said about 30 miles? 30 miles, yeah.
30, 35 miles. And a lot of that depends. I know I go through and make myself my own reports of how much I get sprayed, and you take the north half of the county versus the south. It's 3.3 acres at 30 feet of ditch in a mile. You go up north, you only might get an acre because of all the houses and stuff that you turn on. So then you play the game there, and up north, I could probably get close to 50 miles. But it's, the big thing is I'm not running back and forth to the shop filling up. And that is a big savior. There are the days you get stuck with a half a load on, but you can get something done, especially you go down south to Beersford, 6 miles west, spray 6 miles, and then all the way back to the shop to load, where now I can keep going. I can actually go end to end on the county, and we'll see how it works. It should do good.
Any questions with the equipment report? Trouble spots?
All the ones I chased this year, for the most part, got resolved other than two, and part of that, I've spoke with them, it's partially this year and getting into next spring. I'm gonna chase them in the spring right away. They're the ones that always wait till the last damn minute before they do anything, and right about time I wanna chase legal, then they do something. And working with them, but I think I had, I looked it up yesterday and I spaced it off this morning. I think I had between 25 and 30 letters I sent out, and actually 50 different ones I'd talked to throughout the year. And I'd say 98% resolved. A couple of them I'm constant work on. You gotta chase them every year, but we're getting there.
Okay, any questions?
It sounds like they're working with you one way or the other. That's good. Good news.
Yeah, there's some of them you gotta be patient with and work with, but I'm slowly getting there and working on them. And like I say, the frustrating ones, they know the game. They know the deadlines, and they'll run right up to the edge of it, and about the time I'm ready to go chase it, then they'll do something. And I'm constantly on them working that we have to do something sooner, and they're slowly getting there. I actually have more trouble with corporations than I do landowners, especially up in the north end, you know. One, find somebody to talk to, but I'm like a wart, I don't quit. I keep chasing, we will get there. I'm not gonna scream and holler, but I'm gonna be back every day.
Good for you. Any questions? Thanks, Russ.
You bet.
Thanks, Terry, for your report. Do we have any other old business here? Any new business? I see we have the review, the list of the locally noxious weeds.
Yeah, what we declare as locally noxious is due this year. Are they 3 years or 5 years are off? Went to 5, didn't it?
5, I think, now.
Yeah, every 5 years, you have to review and decide if that's what you want for locally noxious weeds. I did just print out pictures of the state declared ones, and then we declare 3 different ones for ours. Every year I have to put out a report to the state. It's an inspection summary of what I feel there is for acreage of weeds in Lincoln County, and it has the state declared and then ours. And just briefly, like absinthe wormwood, I report about 25 total acres in Lincoln County. That weed is a pasture one, and for the most part, it's fairly well taken care of. And when you do these reports, you don't, okay, if there's a 60-acre pasture with a weed, it isn't 60 acres. You gotta figure if that was in a bunch, how big. So, you know, if there's 15 plants, okay, that's 3 square feet. So the numbers seem low, but they're not. Absinthe wormwood, I said about 25 acres. Canada thistle, 7,000. That's our county flower. We have lots of them. Hoary cress, that's kind of the end of the field weed, a little bit of pasture. It's not a lot of spots here and there. And I had that as only about 30 acres. Leafy spurge, that's about 1450. For the most part, we have 2 places. One's in the southwest corner on old 17 there in the ditch, and I'm slowly getting under control. And then you get over by Hudson, there's some pastures and that, and they're working on it hard, but it's in them hills and that, hard to get. And leafy spurge is, well, the seed will lay in the ground for 50 years. So I say we got about 1,400 acres of that. Perennial sow thistle, that's another annoying one, and for the most part, for our county, that's a fence line weed. You know, so, yeah, there's a lot of it around, but it's 10 plants here, go a quarter mile, 10 more plants, so about 1,800 acres is what I said. As far as in crop ground and pastures, there's not a lot, it's a fence line weed. And purple loose strife, we really don't have any. Over by the interstate in the wet ground, the first year I was here, I found some and they went after it and got rid of it. I said 5 acres there, and the same way with salt cedar. I've only seen one and put that down as 5 acres, because I'm guessing somewhere down around the river bottom, there is some, but it's not getting out of control. That's the state weeds. Now, our local weeds, musk and plumeless thistle are grouped together on my report. I say about 1,000 acres, that's pasture. And for the most part, people do take care of the pasture. It's on the edges and, you know, rough spots hard to get at, so I say there's about 1,000 acres of that. And then spotted knapweed, about 350. We don't have a lot of spotted knapweed, but they are scattered in amongst it somewhat. As far as adding to our locally noxious weeds, I personally don't see anything that's getting big and bad and starting new coming in. Palmer amaranth is one that's coming down the road, but we don't have it yet. We've had a couple in the county and it's been taken care of. The only one that I see that's growing fairly quick, but it isn't large, is chicory. If you go down Highway 11, you see the little blue flowers in the ditch. That's chicory. It's in the dandelion family. That's gaining ground, not a lot. I'd seen it over by south of Newton Hills, over on a township road, and then I've seen it on Highway 11. Getting a little more, it's not big and bad enough to actually chase it down yet that I feel is a locally noxious weed, but it's one we're gonna watch, because if it starts, they hay that ditch, then they go out and spread the seed as they move it around. If that starts getting more, then that would be the only one that I would consider chasing. But it's, if you take the whole county area, it's in a fairly small spot. Now, if we want to chase it down, we can, but it's not growing real fast, mile by mile, but it's one we need to watch in the future. I did put the picture of the thistles there because I made that one up quite a while ago because I had quite the discussion with the farmer over the difference between a bull thistle and a musk thistle and a Scotch thistle, and they're all real close. It's a thistle, take care of them. It's kind of, but I guess it's up to you guys if you want to chase down anything else, but I personally think the ones we have now are musk plumeless and spotted knapweed is all we should continue to keep as locally noxious, unless you feel there's something more should be chased that you're seeing that I don't.
Water hemp is not a noxious weed, but we're seeing it more in the row crop area. Are you seeing it some in the fence lines and the ditches, like
Fence
we've seen
lines
in an
and-
increase?
Right at the shoulders.
Yes.
You know, because the water hemp seed is so light.
Yeah.
Open trucks, it blows off in my shoulders. Well, you go to Lennox, you've seen both sides of 128. I sprayed that 3 times. It's, water hemp is not on.
That's not on the secondary weed list even.
Nope.
No.
You know, and there's 20-some weeds that, to be considered a noxious weed, it can't be native to the state. There's a whole bunch of things it has to hit to even be allowed. Now, if we believe it's bad, we can submit to the state acreage and all that, and even though it's not on their list, try and get it declared, which is difficult.
Yeah.
It's gotta be super bad and it's gotta be very detrimental to crop and blah, 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 you know, really go down the line. But yeah, water hemp, it's getting worse and worse. And then part of that has to do with dry. That's a deep root plant. So it gets water when everything else quits, and the grass quits. Well, we've seen that this year. You hit that August and the grass dried up, the weeds go, because they're the only ones getting the water. Where you get a wet year, the grass will choke it back some, but
Doesn't have that much leaf space either, so it's hard to kill. It's
very hard glyphosate's about the only thing that really, really kills it. There's a couple other things, but pretty close to crops to spray it. I've debated making a hood to try and spray some shoulders, because it's, when Terry's guys go out and mow, you know, that's like mowing trees if it gets big, and I try and keep it burnt back, but you can only dump so much chemical on it too, you know? So I'm debating making a hood where I can spray some glyphosate on roads that are getting bad, but I don't want to kill the grass, because that's what keeps our shoulders. So which thumb do you want to hit with a hammer is what it gets down to.
Russ, do you spray most of these noxious weeds in the spring and the fall, or both times, or what do you think approximately you spend more time or more acres spraying?
Spring is my biggest. I try and get over it. I try and get over the whole county in the spring. And roads that are really, really clean, I'll give you an example, 121, that's a gravel road straight south off of that road. They hay every mile of it end to end, so it's clean. I'll leave that for fall if I go with a truck, or I'll hit that with a Ranger. You know, roads that I know they hay them a lot and are fairly clean, I'll try and skip them in the spring. I'll go across them quick to see if there's anything coming, and then I'll spot spray with the Ranger instead of broadcast spray with the truck. I try and hit, especially up north before gardens get big and that, try and get across once, then go back with a Ranger. That's kind of the plan. If stuff gets away, then I may have to go back and broadcast spray. And in the fall, I do chase. Every year I load up just milestone and go after more thistles. I got patches and they're slowly dwindling. Work on them in the fall, because that's your best shot on Canadians, to spray them in the fall. Try and keep them burned back. They're hard to get in the spring. You get brome 2 foot tall and you got a Canadian thistle 3 inches tall. It's hard to get spray down to them. Now milestone, being I use that in the spring mix, it gets washed into the soil and it'll stunt them some, but they're still there, and that's where I try and hold them back till that July, August, I start running around with the Ranger.
Are you gonna be able to get into those tight areas with the truck as compared to the pickup?
Yep. Wherever I go with a pickup, I can go with that truck. Now, if I got spots that are hard to get at, some of the wetter spots and that, then that's strictly the only thing I spray with is a Ranger. You're too close to water and all that, and it's a lot easier to go with the Ranger, and yeah, that's a lot narrower, plus I can handgun spray. And if there isn't weeds there, I'm not dumping $35 an acre of chemical on it when it's not needed. But spot spraying can cut your throat. You do that for a while, then pretty soon the road gets dirty. So I'm 5 years in now, I have roads that I've been spot spraying. This year, they'll have to be solid sprayed because you're getting too many little patches. But it gets to be a rotation, you just work your way through. Part of the review of this locally noxious weeds is I have a paper that I'll have to have Roger sign that says we've reviewed them, and then we put the minutes with it, send it to the state, and then they'll approve these 3 weeds for the next 5 years. Any more questions on weeds and how I'm doing?
I think you're doing a good job.
Well, we try.
I'll second that.
Well, I got a couple roads, don't go look at. Oh, I fight a couple of them, but timing is everything, you know.
Nobody's perfect.
No. All right,
Thanks, Russ.
you need a motion and approval for the 3 weeds. Musk, plumeless, and spotted knapweed to continue as locally noxious weeds.
Okay, do we have such a motion?
I make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Is there any other new business that we have to present this time?
It'll just be setting the date and time for the next meeting.
Okay,
So, I think we go in March. So next year, as many of you probably maybe have heard, this area is gonna be turned into a courtroom. So this will be unavailable except on Tuesdays. Of course, Tuesdays are commission meetings, so I'm not sure if you want to run on any Tuesday of the month and then go like afternoon, or we can go on the third Tuesday of the month, and we can have our 8:30 slot in the morning.
I would say an afternoon would be fine.
You know, because I think the reason we kind of moved to mornings is that way because, you know, you guys at a farm, maybe it's a little, you know, maybe morning is a little easier to skip out on doing something rather, but that's totally up to you guys. Like I said, I think if we went in the afternoon, I guess I wouldn't see commission meetings going past 1 o'clock, I don't think, but there's
hope
been
not.
there's been some marathon ones, but, you know, so we could go 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I mean, that's up to you guys, or we can go on that third Tuesday of the month and you go at 8:30 in the morning again, so.
I'm okay with that third Tuesday.
It's not that many times we meet.
Yeah, 4 times, so. You want that third
It's a
Tuesday?
consensus. It doesn't really matter to me, so.
Third
Okay.
Tuesday morning works, otherwise any Tuesday afternoon will work, so.
Yep. Yep,
23rd of March then.
nope, on a Tuesday,
Tuesday.
so 21st. March 21st at 8:30? That work for everyone?
Fine with me. 21st of March, 8:30.
All right, we'll get it scheduled, we'll get the room reserved, so. All right, thank you.
One last thing, is there anything else you guys want me to report on when I come before you? Am I giving you information that you like, want, need? Am I just making noise? My kids say I make noise.
I think you're doing a good job.
If you have any questions on anything, you guys all have my cell number. Don't hesitate to ask. You see something, I'll go look at it, chase it down. I do know when people call to complain, they want it taken care of in an hour. That don't happen. There's kind of a state's attorney gets on me a little hard if I go a little too fast, but
The biggest thing you have to do is answer the phone calls.
yes, I have kind of an unwritten rule that within 48 hours, whatever comes in, no matter what, I've tried to contact an individual.
Thank you.
Hey, Russ, how many acres did you say the plumless thistle?
I think it's,
A bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
between musk and plumeless was like 1,000, so it's about 500 acres each.
Oh.
It's mostly, you take them thistles like that, and like I said, when you count them, you can't take the whole field, you gotta take what they sit on.
Yeah.
You take 1,000 acres, that's a lot, so that's about 500. It's a pasture problem. I very seldom see them in the ditch. Now, Canadians, they're in everything, but it's,
Those acreage are just guesses. I mean,
Yeah.
that is just,
Approximates.
to sit down and, I know the state wanted, perfect numbers, you'd have to hire 20 people to cover every acre and really get perfect, but our thistles, and if you really, really look at it, when you drive down the road, you'll see them in the pasture, and they got a little patch or a few here, and you gotta kinda add them all up, and then we got a couple of pastures that are really bad, but I've got them cleaned up. And then 3 years, I gotta go chase them again, but we're getting there.
Oh, thank you, Russ.
Okay.
Do we have anything else to discuss as of today? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
like,
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thanks, everybody.